HIV, like having like a lot of women.
Oh yeah, let's just go down the rabbit hole of all of his sins.
I'm just saying.
You want to know what's wild about that though? He faced that head up.
He did.
And he didn't stop. And he didn't stop doing what he.
Diddy might have walked into prison thinking the legal system would be his biggest challenge. But what's unfolding behind those locked doors has nothing to do with courtrooms or attorneys. The rumors about his health have taken a shocking turn. And it's not just whispers anymore. Reports are beginning to surface about a serious health scare tied to the rap mogul. And the center of all of this? A leaked medical report that's allegedly connected to a full-blown STD outbreak in the jail, where he's being held, according to a prison nurse who claims to have seen the files herself. Diddy's condition is much worse than people assumed. And while he's been known for decades of wild partying, risky behavior, and unprotected sex with both men and women, what's surfacing now could destroy the last bits of his reputation. And put others behind bars in danger, too. For months, people have been speculating about Diddy's drastic weight loss, wondering what could have happened to make him appear so frail, so suddenly. He didn't look like the same man, who was once known for living a luxury lifestyle surrounded by private chefs and designer clothes. Many chalked it up to stress from the raids, lawsuits, and public scrutiny. But insiders now say there's a deeper, more disturbing reason. His body is breaking down from a severe illness. Whispers of HIV have followed him for years, and this time, those rumors are backed by not just street talk, but insider testimony and medical leaks that point to something serious. This all goes back to the kind of lifestyle Diddy was living long before he was ever behind bars, the parties, the free cuffs, the baby oil thousands of bottles found by federal agents during raids all hinted at a world with no boundaries and zero regard for safety. Those infamous parties weren't just industry mixers, they were full-blown sex events, with multiple people involved and most importantly, no protection. Diddy allegedly hosted events that were not only out of control, but also dangerous. Men, women, drugs, oil, and closed doors. That combination was a recipe for disaster. And now it looks like the aftermath of that chaos is finally catching up. One of the biggest concerns right now is whether Diddy knowingly put other people at risk. Prison officials are now being pushed to look into the possible spread of infections. Inside the facility, if the leaked medical report is real and the nurse says it's stacked with information on multiple STDs including HIV, then there's a health crisis brewing in silence. Other inmates are reportedly scared. Some are demanding to be tested, and with rumors that Diddy hasn't stopped his sexual activities even behind bars, things are reaching a boiling point. Multiple sources claim he has what they call jail groupies, inmates, who allegedly fight over doing chores for him, including making his bed, and some even willing to sleep with him, in a place with little to no access to protection. That's not just risky, it's reckless. This situation isn't unfolding in a vacuum. There's a long trail of similar stories behind Diddy. Back when Craig Mack was still alive, he was one of the first to publicly distance himself from Bad Boy Records and the toxic environment he claimed it had. Craig went from being the face of the label to joining a religious cult in South Carolina, isolating himself completely. He died of AIDS in 2018, and people close to him always believed he was brainwashed and abused emotionally by the industry, specifically by Diddy. It's only now, in the light of these prison rumors, that folks are circling back to Craig's tragic end and asking if what he ran from was much darker than anyone wanted to admit. Then there's Jaguarite, the outspoken soul singer who's been dropping bombs about the music industry for years. In her latest interview, she didn't hold back. She claimed that Diddy isn't just dealing with HIV, he's been battling it for a while, and according to her, he's not alone. She says there are at least 20 other men in the industry walking around infected, and she's sitting on their names. She hasn't revealed the full list yet, saving it for her own show, but what she did say was enough to send shockwaves. Her message was clear. This is bigger than just one man's downfall. This is a pattern of recklessness that's gone unchecked for far too long. Usher's name keeps coming up in these conversations too, and not without reason. People haven't forgotten that he lived with Diddy as a teenager. Back then, it was brushed off as just mentorship, a young artist learning from an industry heavyweight. But as Usher himself later admitted in interviews, the environment was far from normal. He described it as curious, saying he saw things he wouldn't want his own children around. That's not something a person casually says about a mentor's house. And what's more, Usher has faced multiple lawsuits from individuals who claimed he gave them herpes. Those cases were eventually settled, But the timing and connections to Diddy's world are hard to ignore. And then there's Jonathan Oddie, the former adult actor whose story was ignored when it first came out but is now being reconsidered. He once accused Diddy and Cassie of involving him in coerced sexual encounters. He claimed he was treated like a slave in that environment and eventually caught an infection. He even spiraled so hard after the experience that he was arrested for firing shots. At Trump's resort in Dorado, people dismissed him as unstable. But now, with his photo shown in court as one of Diddy's former escorts, the conversation has shifted. What if he was telling the truth all along? Kim Porter's death is another chapter that's being reopened. Diddy's longtime partner and mother of his children passed away suddenly, and even though the official cause of death was said to be pneumonia, the details around it never sat right with some folks. Now, insiders are claiming that her real autopsy report showed she was HIV positive before she died. That has raised serious questions. If true, how did she get it? Was she infected during her years with Diddy? And more importantly, did anyone try to cover it up? Kim wasn't just another ex, she was family. And if she was infected, it casts a dark shadow over everything we thought we knew about their relationship. When you look at the bigger picture, it's hard not to connect the dots. So many people who've been close to Diddy have either died young, gotten sick, or ended up in scandals involving STDs and lawsuits. From Craig Mack to Kim Porter, to Usher's silent settlements to Jonathan Audie's meltdown. And now the nurse leaking a prison STD report, it's all pointing in one direction. Diddy's lifestyle wasn't just wild, it may have been deadly. And if he did all this knowing he was infected, that's more than just immoral, it's criminal. There were also whispers about hush money people in the industry are talking about. Payments made to silence those who might speak out. Names like French Montana, Meek Mill, and even Yo Gotti have been floating around. And when you revisit those viral clips and suspicious social media posts, it starts to make sense. Remember when Meek Mill went on a rant about being targeted by bots and campaigns trying to ruin his name? He talked about how powerful his voice was and how they wanted him silenced at the time. Sounded paranoid. But in light of these recent developments, some folks are now wondering if he was actually speaking in code trying to call out the machine, without directly naming names. And that clip of Meek poolside with Diddy, the one where Diddy calls him King's son and tells him he deserves everything. It looked strange then, but now it looks like something else entirely, especially with a leaked audio clip from a former Diddy bodyguard that reportedly captures Meek and Diddy in a very intimate moment. That leak was quickly shut down, but the streets didn't forget. What makes this even worse is the situation in jail. According to multiple sources and a journalist named Lisa Evers, Diddy isn't just laying low, he's allegedly engaging with other inmates in sexual activities and building a fanbase inside prison. These aren't just rumors anymore. Guards have reported inmates fighting over doing chores for Diddy, and some even suggesting they were competing for more than just attention. In a place where protection is almost impossible to come by, that's dangerous on a whole other level. If Diddy is HIV positive and if the nurse's leaked report is real, then what's happening in that facility could turn into a serious outbreak. The fact that people inside the jail are scared should be enough to raise alarms, but because it's Diddy, things are being kept under wraps. The celebrity privilege, even behind bars, is real. With the bodies are stacking up, the symptoms are spreading, and the truth is starting to leak. Whether it's the nurse's confession, the lawsuits, the past settlements, or the silent death, something is happening, and it's bigger than anyone expected. This isn't just about one man's downfall. It's about an entire system that enabled this kind of behavior for decades. Diddy was protected by fame, money, and power. He threw wild parties, invited high-profile guests, and created an environment where no one asked questions. But now, the silence is breaking. The voices that were once ignored like Jaguar Wright, Jonathan Audie, and even Craig Mack are now being revisited. People are paying attention, and what they're seeing is disturbing. As lawsuits continue to pile up and insiders keep leaking information, the world is starting to see the real story. Diddy isn't just fighting for his freedom anymore, he's fighting to contain the truth. But it may already be too late. The outbreak inside prison, the women and men who've come forward, and the list Jaguar Wright is holding onto, the story isn't over. It's only just beginning, and if even half of it turns out to be true, Diddy could be facing a scandal so explosive, it will make all his past controversies look like nothing. The deeper this situation gets, the more questions begin to rise about who knew what and when. How long have people in the industry been aware of Diddy's health issues? And if they did know, Why did they continue to enable him, defend him, or even stay close to him? It's no secret that Hollywood runs on secrets, favors, and silence. But now that the veil is lifting, some of those same people are scrambling to distance themselves before their names get dragged into the mess. Several artists and celebrities who once proudly flaunted their affiliations with Diddy are now either staying quiet or subtly switching up their narratives. French Montana, for example, who used to party with Diddy on yachts and share flashy Instagram stories of their escapades, hasn't been seen or heard in public talking about Diddy lately. That silence is noticeable, and some folks think it's because he's already been paid to keep quiet or is under legal pressure not to speak. The story around Meek Mill is even more complicated. Meek once seemed proud to align himself with Diddy, speaking about him as a mentor and someone who looked out for the culture. But now, people are side-eyeing every past photo, every video, and every quote. When that audio leak dropped that allegedly caught Meek and Diddy in an intimate moment, it was brushed off as fake. But with everything unraveling now, people are revisiting it with fresh ears. Add to that Meek's strange, cryptic tweets about being under attack and about bots trying to ruin his image. And it paints a picture of a man who may have been trying to hint at the truth without fully exposing it. And then there's a disturbing possibility that Diddy isn't the only one who may be affecting people without disclosing their status. Jaguar Wright didn't mince her words when she said there are at least 20 men in the entertainment industry who are knowingly walking around infected and endangering others. That's not just gossip. That's a public health issue. If even a handful of those claims turn out to be true, it means there's an entire layer of hidden abuse and risk in the music world that no one has been willing to talk about until now. The lawsuits haven't stopped either. New names keep popping up in the filings. Women and men are coming forward, saying they were infected after being connected to someone in Diddy's circle. Some say they had no idea the person they were with was even affiliated with him. Others claim they were invited to parties, given drinks, and woke up with no memory of what happened. These aren't isolated incidents, they're starting to form a pattern. And that pattern points back to the same elite, secretive events that Diddy was famous for throwing. Back in 2018, a strange and chilling case made headlines when a former adult film actor named Jonathan Audie stormed Trump's Dorado Beach resort with a weapon. Most people dismiss the story as another case of a mentally ill person losing control, but Jonathan later told a much darker story, one of abuse, manipulation, and exploitation. He claimed he had been forced into sexual situations with Diddy and Cassie, and that he contracted an STD during those interactions. At the time, his claims were dismissed. But now, with mounting evidence that Diddy hosted numerous orgies and freak offs involving escorts, drugs, and secrecy, Jonathan's story feels less like a breakdown and more like a desperate cry for help. That was ignored. The sad truth is that Diddy's story might be just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Kim Porter's mysterious death, the downfall of Craig Mack, the cryptic behavior of Usher, all of it starts to look connected. The deeper you look, the more obvious it becomes that something sinister was happening behind the scenes. Kim Porter was with Diddy for years. She was the mother of his children. They shared a home, a life, and endless public moments, yet her death was sudden. And the official story didn't quite sit right with many. The idea that she might have been HIV positive before her death, if true, opens up heartbreaking possibilities. Who knew? Did she know? Did Diddy know? And if he did, how did she get infected? Whispers of her autopsy being edited or hidden have circulated for years. And now those whispers are louder than ever. If she did die from complications connected to HIV, it raises not just medical questions, but criminal ones too, if someone knowingly exposed her and then tried to cover it up. That's not just negligence, that's deadly intent. It's no longer just a celebrity scandal. It's a crime, even behind bars. Diddy hasn't stopped living like he's untouchable. From the reports of jail groupies to guards allegedly being told to look the other way, it's clear that fame and power still have influence, even in prison. But the problem is, those groupies, those encounters, and that continued reckless behavior could now be putting other inmates and even prison staff at risk. The nurse who leaked Diddy's STD report did so not for clout, but out of fear. Fear that no one was doing anything to stop what could turn into a massive health outbreak behind bars. She claimed his medical file was long and disturbing, listing multiple untreated STDs and signs of severe immune system failure. If that file is real, and she's telling the truth, then officials inside that prison have a duty to act and fast.